Welcome to another episode of John's Garage. Today we're working on the 73 Camaro once again. This episode is specifically focused on the gas tank. I already got it pulled out here. We didn't get any footage of that, but it's only 2 bolts and it comes right out. Don't worry, we'll film us putting it back in so you can see. Since the 1973 Camaro came as a roller, we don't know how old the gas is in the tank. So we are going to take the sending unit off, inspect it, look inside for any debris, see if there's any rot, and clean out this gas tank to get it ready to go back in. So there's probably a more correct tool for this, but we're going to use a hammer and a flathead screwdriver, a small one to keep easier control of it. And we're going to look, there's 3 tabs. One is pretty close to the line, but we got 2 and 3 over here. We're going to take these tabs and hammer them. That wasn't too bad. I know it was sped up for you guys, but it only took me a couple seconds to get once it started going. It was going. This is the old sending unit. This part here reads the float level, and this is supposed to be a filter to keep any junk from going up into the fuel line, and it is toast. So, you know what? Just because of how old this is, we're going to end up buying a new one. Since these things only cost about $45, brand new, well worth the investment. So now looking down in this fuel tank, we're just looking around for any rust, rot, debris. Let's see, there's a little bit of gas. Not a whole lot, I would say. Maybe 1/4 of a gallon, very, very small amount, and a lot of little debris and dirt. Doesn't look too terrible. So we're going to drain this gas tank, fill her up with water, soapy water, slosh it around, and continuously do that until the water starts to come out clear, and then we'll leave it out to dry. One thing to note when handling this gasoline, you're going to have to take it to an auto parts store to get it properly recycled. It can usually be recycled with any old oil, antifreeze, they take it all. Alright, so here's a tech tip. We filled up the gas tank with water, soap, and we sloshed it around. And then I remembered I had one of these. It's a transfer pump. You get 2 hoses, you put a hose on each end, you put one end in whatever you want extracted, and then the other end into your bucket. So the problem I was having with this is because it came in the package like a coiled up. So what I did was, right here, you can see I have the gas tank on an angle, so all the water is down in the bottom corner. And then I took 2 extensions and I electrical taped it all together to make it nice and straight. I was able to stick this all the way down in there, into the corner, put one end into the extraction pump, and I was able to pump out every last drop right into our bucket. And you see how it looks orange? Orange, milky disgustingness. Majority of that is water and just crud that was in the bottom of this gas tank. So we're going to do this cycle a couple more times until that water starts coming out clear, and then we're going to flush it with fresh gasoline to get as much crap out as possible. Alright, just to show you how this works, we have this stuck in here, so the rod has it going all the way down to the far corner. We filled this up a second time with fresh water from the hose. And there it is. Just do this until it all drains out. And you can see just how disgusting that water is. But it's much better than the first batch. So here we are a couple weeks later. We're going to finish this gas tank project finally. I had fogged out the bottom ends and the fuel neck. The inside is clean. And you might be concerned of how are you going to get all that extra water out from the very bottom, because that pump doesn't do a very good job of picking up like every last drop. Well, by leaving it standing on an angle for a couple of days, all the water pooled up in the bottom, and I was able to use a bunch of extensions with a ball of paper towel on the end of it and stick it down in there, and it soaked it all up. So we've got every drop of water out of this, and it's been empty for probably about a month now, so it's definitely dry in there. We also got our brand new sending unit in the mail, so we'll be dropping this in place. And then we're going to take care of the fuel line. We're going to sand it down, throw a quick coat of paint on it. It's really nice outside, so it should dry pretty quickly. We're going to get this fuel system finished today. So the first step is to make sure you remove this old O-ring. Drop the new one in place. You're going to take your locking ring, feed it over the tubes. So it sits in there. You want to send the sending unit in first, since the filter is flexible. And if your gasket moves around, just set it back into place. Keep the wire out of the way. There's little tabs like this too. So we're just going to line them up. So we just got the locking ring underneath each little lip, and we're going to slowly work this around. You might have to massage a little bit because that new gasket is so thick that getting it to spin into place is going to be a little difficult. But it will ensure a tight seal and it'll be good. That's it right there. So she's installed. Everything looks pretty good. The fitment could have been a little bit better, but this is a cheap eBay part. All it really essentially is a really long straw that goes in to pick up the fuel with a little filter on the end. And of course the sending unit is really just a potentiometer, and as the float goes up, it reads a different resistance. In turn, gives you a different fuel reading on your dashboard. So relatively simple. This should do the job for us, no problem. The other thing is this car came with like a bunch of emissions stuff where there was 3 hoses connected to the back of here that go into some like charcoal canister or whatever. We're not going to use any of that, so I just used these little vacuum plugs. Get a size that's a little bit smaller than what you need, so this way it stays on there firm and won't come off. Throw those on. We're not going to need any of it. We're going to have a vented gas cap that will work just fine for what we're doing. And we're just putting one also on the smaller one, which is the return line, because we're not going to use anything that needs a fuel return. As for wiring, it's super simple. We have this one black wire that goes just to ground on the chassis, and then this wire goes to our gauge. We got a hard line that goes from the tank up all the way up to the engine bay, and it looks like it's in pretty good condition, but it has some paint issues, so we're going to scuff it up real quick with a little wire wheel, shoot some black paint on it before we install it. So we scuffed it up, as you can tell. We didn't do an absolutely perfect job, but just good enough. It's just a fuel line. It's going to be underneath the car. Not going to look at it. But we want to make it look half decent since we already got it out. you go. And it looks a million times better already. Just one quick coat of black paint after a little scuff down. And now I feel better about it. Give me that wrench. The ratchet. The ratchet. The ratchet. Yeah. That's a ratchet. Put that back where it was. Oops. Here I'm undoing the old ground wire that they had. It looks like it was cut or ripped off in the past.
Wait, this is the fuel tank?
What?
I thought this was the fuel tank.
This is the fuel tank.
Oh, okay. I thought you lifted it up there while I was like daydreaming.
It's right in front of your face.
I wasn't looking over there. I was like, they have like the same pattern.
Oh, can I have the drill? Just cleaning up the area for where the ground wire is going to connect to. This wire right here goes to the fuel sending unit. This is the wire that runs all the way up to the gauge. So here we let down our 2 gas tank straps. There's just 1 nut on each side, and the previous guy didn't use washers and lock washers, so I grabbed some from my supply. Now I'm just going to roll under there and push this tank up into place.
Are you gonna need a hand?
What?
Are you gonna need a hand?
Maybe. Well, I still got room. Hook your wire up. There you go. That ground wire. I don't know if that ground wire is going to reach that location. Might have to relocate it off to the back side somewhere.
There we go.
Now I need you to give me those nuts.
These nuts?
A washer and a lock washer, please.
Let me get this up.
Okay, well we got the one done, we're gonna go do the other side. Okay.
I got them right here.
Where's that nut?
I have it in my hand.
Okay.
This is clearly doing all the work right now. Yeah,
And that's pretty much it. Gas tank is in. We're going to tighten up those 2 nuts. We got to hook up that ground wire because it was not going to reach to the original spot. I must have had a longer wire on the original fuel sending units. And then we're going to hook up our fuel lines. Hopefully that one, the hard line is almost dry, and we got about 5 feet of 3/8 fuel hose. Definitely way too much, but I wanted to have extras to leave around in the garage. Who put this here?
You said put it back.
Where you got it?
That's
not where it goes.
That's the 8.
No, it's not.
Oh, I don't know what you handed me.
I handed you this.
I thought you gave me the 8 back.
So we're going to drill a new hole for our ground wire, and I already used the wire wheel to get through to the bare metal before we drill a hole and screw this in. And that's it right there. And the wire is super tight, not going to go anywhere. That's going to be a good ground for our sending unit. Since this is the front fuel line that we painted up, that we got off of our parts car, we're going to slide it right down in here. If you take a look, in between that frame rail and the body, there we go. Oh, then you know what? It looks like I gotta get it underneath this brake line. The problem was I had to get the fuel line underneath the brake line. Thankfully this stuff, remember, we can bend it a little bit. So I was able to pull it up and finagle this fuel line to get underneath it. Now I just got to continue working it into place. So we got the fuel line getting it into place. These clips, remember, there's a big tab that goes in one hole, and the other hole is where the bolt's gonna go. We got two here in the front, and that right there sets us up. So the fuel line comes right along here, and it dumps down right in front of the cross member, right where we can get a hose, right from the fuel pump to the line. And we do the same thing underneath the car. Look at that. This is why I love original parts off of parts cars. The hole, that one lined up just perfect. This one, it's a little bit of adjustment right there. So we got two lines there. So this, as you can see, the line ends here, but I have hose. I got a new one I'll use, but this goes to the original hard line from this car, which we are going to leave in place. No point in taking it out to paint it up or whatever. It's a good fuel line. I know it's clear. I ran some air through it. So we're just going to connect this to this and connect this to the fuel tank all the way at the back. Alright, so we finally finished. I'm going to take you for a quick walkthrough. Fuel pump, new hose going to our hard line that we installed. It's got two screws up top that hold it down. Goes down to the left of the frame rail. Okay, fuel line comes down, one bolt, two bolts, another hose connecting to our old line. And our old line comes right up over here on the passenger side of the gas tank. About 3 inches of rubber hose goes to our new lines that go into the new sending unit that's in the gas tank. And that is it. So now we finished the fuel system completely in the 73 Camaro, from the gas tank all the way up to the fuel pump. In the next video we'll probably be tackling the wiring of the engine bay. We ordered a new wire harness and we are in the process of getting it hooked up, and we are filming that too, so stay tuned.